This panicked couple grabbed their baby in a cradle and fled their home. It's unclear what powerful force they had crossed, but even armed helicopters were chasing them. Just as they were about to drive through the forest, the helicopter opened fire. Their car crashed into a tree. The wife died instantly. The husband survived, blew up the car to fake their deaths, and escaped into the forest carrying their baby daughter, Hanna. Hanna grew up with a burning vendetta every day. Her father, Eric, trained her intensely, punching trees without flinching, running with weights, and shooting with perfect accuracy. No matter the target, plastic bottles, pine cones, big or small, she never missed. After relentless training, Hanna finally managed to defeat Eric. One day, while sharpening her knife on a cliffside, she saw a plane flying overhead and instantly became alert. She followed its path through the woods, but was stopped by a line of trees marked with red paint, Eric's warning not to cross that boundary. Eric was trying to protect her, but the more she was forbidden, the more curious Hanna became. She climbed a tree to bypass the line, only to find snowy mountains stretching across the horizon. Still, she pressed on, drank from a stream, and encountered a worker named Arvo. He greeted her and offered her a chocolate bar. Seeing him take a bite first, she hesitantly accepted. Thinking she was lost, Arvo tried to call for help, but Hanna quickly overpowered him. They didn't realize this act would come with a heavy price. Patrol officers spotted them. Arvo raised his hands and surrendered, allowing Hanna to escape. Hanna rushed back to their cave and told Eric everything. She apologized, and he forgave her. But it didn't end there. CIA operatives handed Agent Marissa a classified file about a 15-year-old girl spotted in the forest, matching the description of a missing child. That same night, Marissa deployed a team to the forest. Hearing movement, Hanna and Eric packed up and fled. They spotted a lone soldier reporting in, and Eric quickly took him down and stole his weapon. Hanna seized the moment and slit the man's throat. When more soldiers closed in, Hanna and Eric exchanged a secret code. If separated, meet in Berlin. To protect his daughter, Eric ran off to distract them. Hanna grabbed the soldier's radio and fled in the opposite direction. Meanwhile, a sniper spotted Eric and reported his location. Hanna overheard the order to shoot. Before the sniper pulled the trigger, she revealed herself to give her father a chance to escape. She sat beneath a tree and was quickly captured. Marissa watched via monitor and ordered Hanna taken to a secret base. Eric, if found, was to be executed. As Hanna boarded the helicopter, she saw sunlight for the first time and prayed for her father's safety. Hanna hugged one of the guards and stole his hairpin, using it to take him out. Another guard underestimated her and tried to grab her barehanded. She took him down in seconds. She stormed into the lab, killed the men but spared the women, then read a strange medical report about herself. Another guard entered, but she knocked him unconscious. She disguised herself in uniform and escaped. From a high point, she observed the search pattern and slipped away to a remote area. There, she encountered a runaway girl named Sophie. Hanna offered her water and warned, "Don't drink it all, it's a long journey." Suddenly, Hanna heard engines. She drew her gun, but it turned out to be Sophie's parents. Seeing Hanna alone, they offered her a ride. Sophie's mom asked lots of questions. When she learned Hanna's parents were gone, Sophie gently held her hand. Sophie took Hanna shopping. The two had fun together. At the souvenir section, with no money, Hanna stole a postcard letter and stamp, then mailed it right outside. Sophie witnessed everything. Elsewhere, Eric had also made it out safely. At a hotel, he received Hanna's letter saying she was okay and would meet him in Berlin. As Hanna and the family returned from shopping, she spotted a man watching her from across the street. To avoid danger, she quickly jumped into the car and drove off. Meanwhile, Marissa returned home, pressed a hidden button beneath the floor, lifted up a board, and pulled out a classified file. Inside was a report exposing flaws in a secret project with an order to shut it down. Back at the train station, Hanna was saying goodbye to her friends when she noticed several agents lurking nearby. She quickly shoved Sophie aside and took down the nearest agent. When she saw someone aiming a gun at her, she grabbed the agent and leapt off the platform. Sophie ran toward her in panic, but Hanna was unharmed. She picked up the gun, fired into the air to cause chaos, and was about to finish the agent off. Just then, Sophie pleaded with her to stop. Hanna turned, looked at her, and chose to walk away. She ran out of the station, saw a moving train, and jumped aboard. Sophie chased after her. The two shared a long, emotional look before parting. After arriving at her destination, broke and starving, Hanna resorted to stealing. She used a map to find her next stop. Having not eaten for days, she spotted a stray dog rummaging through a trash bin and decided to eat leftovers too. A thug noticed her alone and tried to harass her. Big mistake. Hanna beat him senseless. When he pulled a knife, she drew her gun. Just then, a man jumped from a bridge, disarmed the thug, and drove him off. It was Eric. Since escaping the forest, Hanna and Eric had reunited in Berlin. He took her to meet his old crew. They planned to raid a weapons container. To keep her safe, Eric told Hanna to stay in the car. Meanwhile, the team cut the locks and started loading up. A police patrol suddenly arrived. Hanna quickly crawled into the driver's seat, started the car, honked the horn, and rammed through the barrier to help the team escape. Driving for the first time, she was thrilled. She asked Eric why they were being hunted. He explained that after leaving the military, he worked for Marissa, helping her track track down special individuals. When she asked who, Eric hesitated. Turns out years ago, while Hanna was still in the womb, Eric had already selected her. A secret organization had hired him to locate unborn children with specific traits. Hanna was one of them. After signing the contract, Eric reported Hanna's identity to Marissa, and she personally came to take Hanna's mother away. Furious, Hanna asked why Eric trained her like a machine without ever telling her the reason. He said it's not time yet, but promised that once Marissa was dead, he'd tell her everything. Though still angry, Hanna hoped Eric would stay safe. They moved forward with their plan, infiltrating Marissa's hotel to assassinate her, but Marissa had already bribed one of Eric's teammates, Lucas, who called to tip her off. Hanna looked out the window and noticed soldiers hiding nearby. There are 3 of them, 2 at the back door. Lucas entered a diner. Eric followed and sensed something was wrong. Marissa, waiting outside, ordered her team to shoot Eric on sight. A man in a hat exited the diner and was immediately gunned down, but it wasn't Eric, it was Lucas. Eric had used a decoy to fool them and had already entered the hotel another way. Elsa, another ally, helped cover his escape. Seeing smoke outside, Hanna feared the worst and rushed out to find him. A sniper aimed at her, but just as he was about to shoot, a car rammed into him, saving Hanna. Eric, as cunning as ever, allowed himself to be captured by the police, just in time for Marissa to arrive. Suddenly, all 3 had their guns pointed at her. They then lured Jacobs, one of Marissa's dirty operatives, into a car. Eric, hidden in the backseat, held a gun to his neck and forced him to drive them to a secret base. Using Marissa's phone, which had pictures of her husband and child, Eric threatened to have them killed unless she canceled the bounty and left the city. Marissa said she didn't have that authority. Without hesitation, they dragged Jacobs out of the car and killed him in front of her. Later, Eric's teammate Dieter took Hanna to hide at his house. She saw him playing happily with his children and felt a pang of sadness. In the kitchen, she saw Dieter's wife cooking and offered to help. The woman quickly warmed up to Hanna. That night, Hanna snuck out to follow Dieter. She broke a window to distract him, then hid in the backseat of his car. She trailed him to where Eric was hiding. In the dark, she accidentally stepped on Jacobs' corpse, causing Eric to become alert. He went out to investigate. Hanna panicked and ran. While climbing a fence, she cut her hand on the metal. Eric later spotted the blood. Hanna returned to Dieter's house through the window. There, she found Dieter's little son sneaking ice cream. Hanna gently wiped his mouth clean. The next morning during breakfast, Hanna told the little boy to go wash his hands. She quickly snatched his homework from his backpack and hid it. Once both of Dieter's sons left for school, she handed the homework to Dieter, saying the younger one forgot it at home. Dieter rushed out to deliver it, leaving Hanna alone in the house. With the house to herself, Hanna began searching. Eventually, she found a black bag hidden on top of a cupboard. Inside was a signed agreement with the signatures of her mother and Eric. Eric was listed as a guarantor, but the space for the biological father was blank. This discovery devastated Hanna. She couldn't accept the truth. After being captured, Marissa confessed the truth. Hanna's mother had sold her right after birth, but quickly regretted it. She begged Eric to get her daughter back. Out of guilt, Eric agreed to help, but Marissa acted behind his back and blamed Eric to cover her tracks. Now, Hanna misunderstood everything and felt she couldn't trust anyone. In a moment of despair, she called Sophie. Sophie kept asking questions, but Hanna said nothing and hung up. Dieter prepared to take Hanna to meet Eric. As they left, Dieter's wife packed food for her, and the boys hugged her goodbye. In the car, Eric noticed something was off. He saw Hanna's bandaged hand and realized she was the one who had broken into his base. According to their plan, Rudy was supposed to kill Marissa, but one of her agents arrived just in time to save her. As she prepared to board a plane, Hanna pulled out the agreement and confronted Eric. "Did you hurt my mother? Who's my real father?" Eric said he would explain once they were on the plane, but Hanna refused to listen. She punched him in anger. Eric insisted he never meant to harm her mother, only to help her, but Hanna ignored him and ran. While she escaped Marissa's trap, Eric wasn't so lucky. He was shot. Hearing gunfire, 2 allies rushed in and returned fire to rescue him. As Eric and Elsa talked, Elsa was suddenly shot and killed. Eric hid behind a tree, motioned for a child nearby to run, and prepared to fight, but he was soon surrounded. It turned out Dieter had betrayed him. With no other option, Eric surrendered. Meanwhile, Hanna was in the forest, peeling bark, letting an ant crawl on her hand, brushing grass, smelling wildflowers. Then she heard something. She ran through the dense forest and spotted a deer ahead. She drew her bow. Later, she returned to Sophie's house. Sophie told her to pack up. It was time to go home. But when Hanna stepped inside, she found Marissa sitting there, pretending to be Sophie's mom. Luckily, Sophie didn't say anything. Still, Marissa had already taken Sophie's phone and used it to send Hanna a fake message to lure her out. Hanna thought the message was from Sophie, but when she arrived, she was met by Marissa, who warned her not to run again or she'd kill Sophie's family. Panicked, Hanna asked about Eric. Marissa claimed he was dead and promised to reveal everything about her mother and Eric if Hanna cooperated. Hanna agreed under one condition, that Sophie's family be left alone. But she didn't fully trust Marissa. She wanted to see Sophie's family safe with her own eyes. Sophie pulled Hanna aside, holding the agreement, and asked, "Why do you have 2 moms?" Hanna said nothing. She didn't want Sophie in danger, so she quietly left with Marissa. At the hotel, Hanna was so exhausted she fell asleep. Marissa took a photo of her, then started removing her shoes. Suddenly, Hanna grabbed her hand. Seeing that Marissa meant no harm, she let go and went back to sleep. Elsewhere, 2 agents at a prison had been killed. Eric had just taken out the guards, but instead of leaving, he used a computer to access classified files, records of elite, genetically modified girls. Hanna wasn't listed. Back at Dieter's house, there was a knock. He opened the door and saw Eric. Eric demanded the Dieter make things right. Dieter drove him to a secluded area, handed him a passport and cash, and admitted he betrayed him because the organization had threatened his family. Marissa contacted her team and sent a helicopter to pick up Hanna. As they entered the elevator, a hand suddenly blocked the door. It was Eric. At that moment, Hanna realized Eric was still alive. She was overjoyed, while Marissa was terrified. When the elevator stopped on the 4th floor, Eric quickly pulled Hanna out and fled via the stairwell. Hanna, always alert, noticed soldiers below and led Eric to run upstairs instead. They rushed into a conference room mid-meeting. Eric lit some paper and threw it in a trash bin, triggering the fire alarm and causing chaos. In the confusion, they blended into the crowd to escape. Some agents spotted them, but none were a match for Hanna. She swiftly took them down. They made it to a helicopter, eliminated the pilot, and Eric took the controls while Hanna covered him. When she came face to face with Marissa, she hesitated and chose to spare her. Girls like Clara had been abandoned at birth, injected with experimental drugs, and raised to be cold-blooded assassins. Clara, a dark-skinned girl, was the strongest among them. With emotionless eyes, they trained endlessly and returned to isolated cells like programmed machines. Eric had copies of their files. Clara, marked as Subject 249, was classified as exceptional. The training facility was deep in the Romanian woods. Coincidentally, Hanna's biological father lived in Romania too. Eric's plan was to reunite her with her father for a normal life. Once she was safe, he'd destroy the facility. Before that, Eric took her to visit his mother. That night, while they slept, his mother saw Marissa's business card and grew suspicious. The next morning, as Eric drove away, Marissa arrived, but it was too late. She tried to track them, only to be surrounded by CIA agents. Someone wanted her position replaced. Sawyer called HQ. 2 agents escorted Marissa to a remote location. Realizing the setup, she pulled a hidden blade from her sleeve and struck first. Marissa quickly killed both agents without hesitation. Sawyer, guessing Eric's plan to destroy the base, had set a trap. Meanwhile, Eric packed Hanna's things to bring her to her father. Her biological father came in person. It was their first time meeting, but there was distance. He had a new family now. They agreed Hanna could stay one night. Later, Eric called her to collect her bag and say goodbye. She looked torn between her real father and the man who raised her for 15 years, but Eric had to go destroy the facility and couldn't tell her the truth. Clara had an extraordinary sense of hearing. She could detect sounds from miles away. Feeling uneasy, Hanna decided to go after Eric. Her father tried to stop her, but she threw him aside and took the car. When Eric returned to a motel, he received a call from Marissa. She claimed to have killed 2 CIA agents and offered to help him protect Hanna and destroy the facility. Eric sensed something nearby, gun in hand. He crept out and checked the rooms. He finally found Marissa in the next room. She dropped her gun and tried to make peace. But Sawyer and his agents had already arrived to arrest her. Marissa insisted it wasn't her who called, but it was too late. Agents stormed the room. Though outgunned, Eric fought back cornered with no ammo, hiding behind a wall. Suddenly, Hanna crashed her car into an agent. She hit another, grabbed a weapon, and opened fire. When she ran out of bullets, she fought hand-to-hand, took down another agent, and joined Eric to cover his escape. Seeing Sawyer preparing to shoot, Eric fired at a nearby car, causing an explosion. Hanna drove them away. After the chaos settled, Marissa calmly walked up to Sawyer. Refusing to back down, Hanna joined Eric in infiltrating the facility. They aimed to rescue the experimental girls. Hanna leapt into the central hall, drawing guards' attention so Eric could ambush them. She kneed one in the stomach, wrestled him to the ground, and took his weapon. Eric noticed soldiers on the upper level and took them out. After clearing the area, they stormed the control room, forcing the lead scientist to unlock the cell doors. When the door opened, only Clara dared to step out. She went to room 242, told her fellow subject they were free to run, but 242 didn't move. Without a direct order, she refused to leave. Clara heard movement and pointed her gun forward. Just then, Hanna and Eric arrived. Hanna wanted to help them escape, but Clara said she was just Subject 249. She had no name. Hanna turned on the computer screen to show her her real name was Clara and her mother had been killed. At that moment, Sawyer and his soldiers arrived. Hanna believed the girls like her were victims, not weapons or lab rats. She tried to lead them to safety, but the girls were emotionless, brainwashed, and only followed orders. Sawyer ordered his men to eliminate the intruders. The girls attacked immediately. One tried to strangle Hanna, but Eric saved her. As another aimed at Eric, Clara shot first. The others remained motionless. Then the loudspeaker announced an evacuation. Like robots, the girls obeyed and boarded military trucks. Except Clara. She chose to run. Marissa witnessed it all and silently sided with them. After the lead scientist was taken away, agents began destroying the facility. At the shooting range, Clara warned them to hide. Soldiers were approaching. As they burst in, Eric triggered the defense system and the trio fought back. Hanna, agile and fierce, leapt onto high ground and took out guards from above. Clara stayed below, firing with deadly accuracy. Suddenly, Clara was shot. A soldier tried to grab her, but Hanna jumped in just in time. They eliminated the rest. Eric, severely wounded, told Hanna to leave him behind, but she refused. As they neared the exit, Sawyer blocked their path with a gun. Just as he was about to shoot, a shot rang out. Marissa had taken him down. She'd chosen to join their side. After helping them escape, she stayed behind to deal with the fallout. Taking Sawyer's phone, she disappeared into the shadows. Hanna drove Eric to the hospital, but his wounds were too grave. He passed away, a man who fought for justice, now gone so suddenly. Hanna buried Eric next to her mother's grave, then returned to the forest where she was raised, bringing Clara with her. One day while hunting, Hanna spotted a drone plane above. Danger was near. They fled. Clara hid while Hanna dove underwater to avoid detection. The drone found nothing and left safe again. The girls smiled at each other. In quieter times, Hanna practiced traditional pulse reading and checked Clara's wrist. She felt something strange. Using a knife, she cut into Clara's arm and removed a metal implant. It was a drug capsule embedded in her body. To survive, they sometimes stole food from nearby homes. Clara once saw a photo of the house owner and his daughter, missing her mother. She took it. These girls were genetically engineered to become military weapons. Upon graduation, they would be deployed to secret organizations. The top priority now, capture Clara and bring her back. Hanna and Clara trained daily, but it was clear Clara lacked fighting skills. She couldn't match Hanna. One morning, Clara ran into the forest alone. Hanna, busy crafting hunting gear, noticed her missing. Clara had secretly gone to a nearby cabin, asking the homeowner to help her find her mother. Hanna returned and discovered the stolen photo. Furious, she grabbed her gun and followed the trail. She found Clara's footprints but arrived too late. The man had already driven Clara to look for her mom. Their location was now exposed. An armored vehicle appeared. Hanna spotted soldiers outside. They searched the area but found nothing. Just as they were expanding their sweep, one noticed a curtain move. Hanna opened fire first, then fell back inside. Gunfire hit a gas tank outside, causing an explosion. The house went up in flames. Meanwhile, Clara arrived at a hotel where she believed her mother was staying, but instead, Marissa was there. Clara tried to flee, but two soldiers ambushed her. Though she fought back and took them down, she was soon hit by a stun gun and passed out. Marissa's superior later thanked her for her cooperation and left her a business card inviting her to return to the agency. After the house collapsed, a passing hunter stopped to check it out. Suddenly, Hanna rose from the rubble, leaving him stunned. Meanwhile, the owner of the wooden cabin had just returned to the city, only to find Hanna waiting for him there. Half an hour later, she followed clues that led her to Marissa, showing rare tenderness. Marissa cut and dyed Hanna's hair blonde. Hanna was happy with her new look. Marissa took a photo of her, then called her old mentor, hoping he would accept Hanna and protect her. But what she didn't know was that her subordinate, Sonia, had been secretly monitoring her, and now considered Marissa a traitor who needed to be eliminated. Marissa sent Hanna's photo to a forger to create a fake passport. Afterward, she texted Hanna that everything was ready, but Hanna couldn't stop thinking about Clara. She held the capsule taken from Clara's body. Deep in thought, she visited the neighbor, pretending to want a cup of coffee, but her real motive was to steal his wallet. While the neighbor was making coffee, she searched for the source of the drug. By the time he finished, Hanna had disappeared. Later, when Marissa returned, the neighbor reported the theft. Furious, Marissa restrained him and checked his computer search history. She quickly realized where Hanna had gone, and she was right. Hanna was following the trail of the capsule, trying to find Clara, unaware that Clara had already been recaptured and taken back to the secret facility. At the facility, a trainer attempted to brainwash Clara again. She nearly strangled him, but stopped herself just short of killing him. Meanwhile, Hanna discovered that the pharmaceutical company was recruiting volunteers for drug trials. She approached the check-in desk, but was turned away for not having an appointment, so she tailed a female volunteer, stole her clothes and ID form, and warned her to go home and never return. Hanna even handed her money as compensation. Disguised, she entered the facility. A staff member escorted Hanna into a lab and asked her to take a pill. Desperate to find Clara, she complied. She then asked if they had seen Clara, but the employee had no idea. Next, she was brought to another lab for injections and IV drips. The drug caused terrifying hallucinations. Hanna panicked, pulled out the IV, smashed a computer monitor through the window, and escaped. She knocked out a staff member on her way out. She broke into an office and found research files detailing human experimentation, exactly what had been done to girls like Clara. Enraged, she pointed a gun at an employee and demanded the location of the secret base. Before she could get an answer, armed guards arrived. Hanna fled down to the basement just as Marissa pulled up to rescue her. Marissa pretended to call Sonia, but in reality, she was tracking the coordinates of the secret base. She also arranged for Clara to get a forged passport. Everything Marissa did now was to help Hanna save Clara. Hanna sneaked into the facility again, stole a set of keys, and hid inside a vehicle. Meanwhile, Sonia had caught the volunteer Hanna had robbed and interrogated her about why she was asking about the base. After hearing the full story, Sonia asked the woman to identify the thief. On the third photo, she confirmed it was Hanna. Elsewhere, CIA superiors found a capsule in Marissa's bag, the same one Hanna Hanna had given her. Suspicious, they began monitoring Marissa. She angrily confronted them for doubting her loyalty. The lead scientist brought a new drug to the secret base. Hanna, waiting in her car, followed him. Along the way, she received a message from Marissa. The organization knew she was still alive. Alarmed, Hanna called Marissa and shared her location. She entered a diner and sat behind the scientist, watching his every move. At the same time, Sonia identified Hanna's stolen car via surveillance and reported its location, parked outside the diner, to her superiors, who immediately ordered Hanna's capture. Sonia opened the car's trunk and found a weapons case inside. Meanwhile, Hanna followed the scientist out of the diner and secretly took photos of his drug deal. Just as Hanna was about to follow the truck, the scientist spotted her. Sonia attempted to ambush her from behind, but Marissa appeared just in time. Pretending it was a coincidence, she approached calmly. Then, with swift precision, she pulled out a silenced pistol and shot Sonia dead. She stuffed the body into a compartment, then posed as Hanna's mother and forced her into the car. The scientist didn't suspect a thing. During the ride, Hanna asked why Marissa was helping her. Marissa replied, "I don't even know." Then a strange number called. Marissa stepped away to answer. It was her superior, who had sent her a photo of Sonia's dead body, and now suspected Hanna was behind the killing. While sitting in the car, Hanna found a business card in Marissa's bag. The card invited Marissa to return to the organization. Suspicious, Hanna searched Marissa's call history. The number matched the one on the card. Hanna began to suspect that Marissa might be planning to turn her in. She broke the SIM card, jumped out of the car, and hid inside a nearby truck. When Marissa noticed Hanna was missing, she started looking for her. Seeing something strange about the truck, she climbed inside to check, and Hanna ambushed her, knocking over a shelf and attacking. After a struggle, Hanna overpowered her and accused her of lying. She knocked Marissa unconscious before fleeing. This time, however, Marissa was actually innocent. Hanna cut through barbed wire and dropped into the secret facility. She found where Clara was being held and hid both their passports in a tree nearby. Then, she snuck into the facility and took down the guards. Before they could react, Hanna had already disarmed one of them and picked up his gun, preparing for the incoming threat. After overcoming countless obstacles, Hanna finally found the other children. Clara was now dressed like a normal girl, happily playing with the others. Everything was the opposite of what Hanna had expected. Clara was the last to notice her. She turned around, their eyes met, but something had changed. Just then, soldiers surrounded Hanna. Despite seeing them living happily, Hanna felt only deep disappointment. She threw down her weapon and surrendered. Clara was conflicted, but in the end, she walked away. This change in Clara came after Terry showed her a confidential file, a final letter left by Clara's mother. In the letter, her mother expressed her dying wish to entrust Clara to the facility. That shattered Clara's emotional defenses. Believing it was her destiny, Clara truly accepted the organization's plans and fully integrated herself into the experiment. This shift crushed all of Hanna's efforts and sacrifices. This episode was filled with layered conspiracies. Miraculously, Marissa had survived. She planted a tracking device inside her lipstick and synced its location to her phone. Then, she crashed her car into a tree to gain sympathy from her superior, Carmichael, and it worked. She gained access to the facility and quietly memorized a system login password. In reality, Carmichael was using Marissa to tame a wild horse, that horse being Hanna. When Marissa entered Hanna's holding cell, Hanna stood up angrily, but Marissa reminded her that there were cameras. She explained that the wound on her face was from a car accident and confirmed that it was Hanna who shot Sonia. Using coded gestures, she reassured Hanna that she was still on her side, slowly regaining her trust. Elsewhere, a man arrived at the crash site and, after confirming the area was clear, dug up a phone Marissa had buried. When he unlocked it, Hanna's photo popped up. He immediately activated Marissa's GPS tracker. Back at the facility, Hanna met Clara and told her the passports were ready, they could escape together. Meanwhile, a girl named Sandy was planning a party that night. She led her friends to steal sodas. She distracted the guards while her friends did the stealing. Afterward, the guards reported the incident to their superiors, revealing that it had all been a setup by the facility. During shooting practice, Hanna whispered her escape plan to Clara. They would leave together at 10 p.m. That evening, Sandy noticed Clara sitting quietly and tried to comfort her, urging her to open up. Naively, Clara shared the escape plan, confusing and alarming Sandy. Later, after finishing her task, Marissa said goodbye to Hanna and subtly hinted that the operation would happen that night. Marissa returned to the control room, dismissed her colleagues, and used the login she'd memorized to access the power system. She set a timer to cut the power at exactly 10 p.m. After everything was set, she walked out calmly. At 10 o'clock sharp, all the lights went out. Hanna took Clara and quickly made their escape. Marissa drove to the exit gate, ready to pick them up. But she didn't expect Carmichael to be the one who stepped into the car. Forced to flee, Marissa ran, but the trap had already been set. She was caught on the spot. Even worse, as Hanna and Clara ran together, Clara accidentally betrayed her. Hanna found herself face to face with the brainwashed children, who calmly said, "Stay here with us." They captured Hanna and tried to create a fake sense of belonging, pretending the facility was a family. They even used shallow emotional manipulation to convince her to stay, which completely disgusted Hanna. On top of that, being betrayed by Clara made her even more furious. Inside the compound, the organization conducted a military exercise, splitting the trainees into groups of 4. While everyone else was already assembled, Hanna showed up late to to her, it all seemed like a childish game. The trainer handed her a model gun and began explaining how to use it. Hanna casually responded, "I've used real ones." "I know." Frustrated and needing an outlet, Hanna decided to teach these girls a lesson. She ran off into the forest, her territory. Hanna grew up in the woods. She was the queen of survival. One girl tried to ambush her from behind, but Hanna quickly took her down with a single shot. She had been fighting since childhood, so dealing with book-trained recruits was child's play. Her flawless performance even shocked the trainer. The sound of gunfire during the drill made Marissa, still imprisoned, alert and curious about what was happening outside. After neutralizing the threats, Hanna cautiously approached the perimeter fence. She noticed a man walking toward the base. He had come to extract Marissa. When no one showed up, he decided to investigate. He earned Hanna's trust by showing her something on his phone. As he was about to warn her to stay silent, he suddenly ran off. Hanna turned around, alarmed. It was Clara. She came to summon Hanna for their mission. Suddenly, a car nearby exploded, triggering flashbacks of Hanna's foster father's death. After getting in the car and locating the mission objective, an enemy ambushed them from behind. Hanna reacted swiftly, but Clara was shot and taken out of the game. When the attacker tried to seize the objective, Hanna rushed in and fought him hand to hand. She eventually overpowered him and lifted the target to signal the man who had come to extract Marissa. Even though she had won, Hanna felt no pride in her victory. The whole mission felt meaningless. After spending a few days together, Hanna and Clara reconciled. Carmichael took a photo of them bonding and sent it to Marissa to prove Hanna now belonged to the program. But Marissa didn't believe it. Hanna had already seen the real world. Hanna lived in a room monitored by cameras. She missed her father deeply, something Terry, the facility's psychologist, exploited. Terry posed as her father through video calls, manipulating Hanna's emotions until she broke down, hugging her computer and refusing to sleep. Meanwhile, Marissa requested a bottle of water, knocked out the guard, stole his badge and gun, and escaped the prison cell. While Terry was still deceiving Hanna, Marissa suddenly appeared, gun pointed at her. After knocking Terry out, Marissa video called Hanna, telling her to get ready to escape, but Hanna, still emotionally tied to her father, simply replied, "I don't want to go." Then she ended the call and covered the camera. With no other choice, Marissa went to Hanna's dorm room and told her the man she spoke with online was fake. Terry had been impersonating her father. Marissa then took Hanna and left. The extraction man was still waiting, but they had to double back for the passports, so they told him to get the car. After retrieving the documents, Hanna insisted on bringing Clara with him. Marissa strongly objected. Clara had already been brainwashed by the facility. Suddenly, Clara showed up behind him, pointing a gun at Marissa. Hanna immediately stepped in front of her protector. Marissa told Clara that her biological mother was still missing, possibly dead. Taking advantage of Clara's confusion, Marissa knocked the gun from her hand. As the two struggled, a gunshot rang out. Marissa was shot in the arm. Clara, surprisingly, praised Hanna for making the right decision. When Carmichael arrived with backup, he ordered Marissa taken away and comforted Hanna, saying she had done the right thing. But deep down, Hanna felt nothing but pain. This marked the first time Hanna and the others received a secret mission to prevent a target from completing their plan. Before departure, they were given files to study the target. The first thing they did was accompany a tall, slim college girl to meet her academic advisor to enroll in classes, because their real target was a journalist who happened to be close friends with that advisor. The journalist drove over to pick up the advisor, along with Jules, Hanna's teammate, and the target. Hanna stayed upstairs, carefully observing their every move. Later, Hanna followed Jules and made contact with the target. To avoid suspicion, the journalist stepped outside to take a call. Smart as ever, Hanna circled to the back to eavesdrop. She then entered the target's room, took photos of her journal, sent them to HQ, and escaped by jumping from the second-floor window. When the journalist returned and found Hanna still there, she confessed to being a reporter investigating the case of a kidnapped pregnant woman whose baby was taken away and given to someone else. Exactly what happened to Hanna. Hanna then met with her handler and informed him that the mission to eliminate the journalist would happen the next day. He took her to a room lined with evidence and explained that the base was exploiting girls like her for assassination missions. Shocked, Hanna noticed a photo of her foster father among the evidence. Unbeknownst to her, Jules was secretly photographing the entire scene. Jules immediately called Carmichael. Not wanting to give Hanna a second chance, Carmichael ordered the trainer to eliminate her. The next day, Hanna and Jules headed to the subway station to deal with the journalist. On the way, Hanna sensed they were being followed. Sure enough, the journalist and her handler had tracked them. When the train arrived, Hanna stepped on first, shoved Jules out, and drew her gun, demanding Jules leave. But once inside, Hanna realized she'd been tricked. Her weapon had been swapped. In a split-second reaction, Hanna discerned a female operative and shot the male one. She then took down the remaining attacker. She and the female agent fought fiercely. The woman locked her legs around Hanna's neck, but Hanna reversed the hold and choked her. After getting kicked across the train, Hanna didn't hold back. She delivered a final blow and took her out. Outside, the handler was tailing Jules, but was quickly ambushed and killed by her with a silenced pistol. Fearing for their safety, Hanna sprinted down the street in tears. After eliminating the tail, Jules continued following the journalist. Just then, the trainer showed up and called out to the reporter, and Jules used the moment to shoot and kill her. When Hanna arrived, it was too late. The handler was lying motionless on the ground. She grabbed his phone and rushed to find the journalist, only to arrive at the station too late again. Meanwhile, a beautiful girl had stolen a classmate's wallet. After class, as the girl panicked looking for it, Sandy conveniently showed up, saying she had just found it. That's how the two quickly became best friends. To obtain the list of targets from Glitter, Carmichael ordered them to approach his daughter, Kat. Glitter briefly met with Cad before leaving for safety. Clara silently tailed Cad down the street until she noticed Hanna was tailing her. Hanna discovered on the handler's phone that Glitter and Cad were fighting for justice and that Carmichael was the head of the assassination program. Even more shocking, Clara's mother was still alive. After Hanna told her, Clara left immediately. Hanna's goal now was to reach Cad before the enemy did, but when she turned around, she saw Sandy had already beaten her tit and had gained Kat's trust. Sandy and Cad planned to have dinner with Glitter. Hanna watched them from a distance. At the restaurant, Glitter had been waiting. When his daughter arrived with a friend, he politely declined Sandy's presence. Sandy stepped outside to call Clara for backup. Once Cad stepped outside, Sandy shadowed her while Clara went after Glitter. Just as Clara pulled her weapon to pursue him, Hanna appeared and blocked her. Hanna asked Clara if she had ever looked into her own mother. She revealed that Clara's mother was alive, and both of them had been deceived by the organization. Hanna not only wanted to let Glitter go, she wanted to save Kat. She came to Clara for one thing: tell me where she is. Clara texted Sandy, claiming she lost track of Glitter, a move meant to stall Sandy's attempt to take him out. While on the call, Sandy hailed a cab to chase after Kat. Hanna had been following them the whole time. She spotted a red car with a female driver and suddenly threw herself in front of it, startling the driver. The woman jumped out to check, but Hanna was already gone until she turned around and saw Hanna sitting calmly inside the car, signaling her to move aside, leaving the driver completely confused. Meanwhile, Glitter called the hotel front desk, instructing them to safeguard a list and mentioning someone would pick it up the next day. After reuniting with his daughter, he quickly escorted her out of the hotel. As they exited, Clara, disguised as a cleaning staff, greeted Glitter. Just then, Sandy appeared and knocked him down. They demanded the list, but Glitter insisted he didn't have it. Clara was about to shoot, but hesitated. Finally, she lowered her weapon, which frustrated Sandy. She snatched the gun and prepared to take the shot herself. At that moment, Hanna burst in and stopped her, but Sandy forced Glitter into the bedroom. Hanna then turned her gun toward Clara. Clara explained she hadn't done anything, causing Hanna to hesitate. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out. Both women turned their heads toward the bedroom in shock. When they opened the door, they found Glitter lying on the bed, motionless. Sandy had escaped through the window. The moment brought back painful memories of Hanna's final goodbye with her foster father. Now that Clara had learned the whereabouts of her biological mother, she was ready to meet her. Before she left, Hanna gave her a passport. Unsure when they'd see each other again, they simply wished one another well. At the center, Terry saw Clara's flight details but chose to keep quiet. No signs of anything unusual, she reported. After thousands of miles apart, Clara and her mother finally embraced. Hanna and Marissa, too, officially became allies. So, what's the next move? Meanwhile, a guy named Ethan was eating when a beautiful woman suddenly paid for his meal. Confused, he wondered who had taken an interest in him. Just then, Marissa, seated behind him, handed him a hit list. His name was the only one not crossed off. She told him these were the people marked for assassination, but Ethan, a CIA hacker, was shocked to see his name on it. Feeling wronged, he was about to run when Marissa handed him a phone, inviting him to join their mission. Elsewhere, Hanna demanded that Carmichael declare her a spy in front of the entire facility, the only way to clear lingering suspicion. They were taking this risk because they intended to dismantle the assassination program for good. At that point, the second-in-command, Stapleton, had taken over the base while the true leader remained in the shadows. Marissa secured a secret facility where Hanna could meet with Carmichael. Ethan called in via video, saying the base was now tracking a group of teens who could become highly dangerous. Hanna asked Carmichael who the real mastermind was, but he claimed not to know. Marissa suggested sending Hanna to Paris, since all 5 targets were located there. Carmichael hesitated, saying Stapleton now ran things and he couldn't make decisions. Marissa asked him to find a workaround. After he left, Marissa asked Hanna to find out who the true boss was and to be extremely cautious during the solo mission. That night, Hanna sneaked into an underground tunnel and made her way to a parking garage. She hid behind a car and listened in on a conversation between Stapleton and the mysterious leader. A cat meowed, raising Stapleton's suspicion. She sent someone to check, and once they removed the cat, Hanna snapped photos of the meeting. Stapleton seemed pleased with Hanna and asked Carmichael where she should be deployed. Carmichael thought of Paris, but said Germany. Stapleton objected. Hanna was too familiar with Germany. Carmichael pretended to agree, then proposed Paris after all, satisfying everyone. The next day, during the briefing, Carmichael assigned missions to the team. Everyone studied their targets, but Hanna focused on how to save them. Meanwhile, Terry saw Andy reporting to Stapleton, warning her that Hanna might be turning sides. Terry immediately disguised herself as Hanna's father and warned her someone at school was targeting her. Then she logged into the system and erased the chat history. Hanna's first mission was to assassinate assassinate a university student named Abbas. She tracked him closely and followed him from a distance. Once she ensured the surroundings were safe, she approached and asked for directions. Abbas, ever helpful, even offered to walk her home. Before parting, he asked for her number, exactly what Hanna had hoped for. This said goodbye, appearing reluctant to part. At their first class, Abbas gave a confident speech that instantly drew Hanna's attention. However, every move they made was under surveillance. The base had also assigned an operative to follow Hanna in case anything went wrong. Eventually, headquarters ordered Hanna to eliminate the target. Left with no choice, she lured Abbas to the rooftop. Sensing danger, Abbas tried to flee, but Hanna caught up, shoved him down, and dragged him toward the stairwell. She then pulled out her earpiece and tossed it over the edge to block surveillance. Signaling Abbas to keep quiet, she prepared to act, but Marissa arrived just in time and warned Abbas. The base picked up sounds of gunshots from the scene and immediately sent operatives to check. A dummy body was thrown from the rooftop. Hanna looked down and saw the tracking agent reporting the mission as completed. The dummy was set on fire. The base, satisfied, ordered everyone to clear out. Hanna, watching the operatives leave, finally felt safe. Later, she grew suspicious of her boyfriend and, while he was asleep, used his fingerprint to unlock his phone, only to find he was still in touch with an ex. Instead of confronting him, she packed up and left, but something fell off. She turned back. She remembered seeing a strange car parked outside earlier and realized her boyfriend was none other than Abbas, the very target she had once saved. He could be in danger. Sure enough, Abbas had just returned home when operatives broke in and opened fire. Luckily, the first shot missed. As the agent aimed to shoot again, Hanna stormed in, knocked the gun away, and engaged in hand-to-hand combat. The operative didn't stand a chance. Hanna quickly overpowered and eliminated him. She helped Abbas into a car and called Marissa for backup. The base had sent the agent after discovering Abbas had contacted someone suspicious, his ex. Stapleton from the organization had discovered a clue left near the metal grate and was planning to catch them in the act. Realizing they were exposed, Carmichael immediately warned Hanna, but Stapleton had already been waiting behind him. Furious, Carmichael smashed his laptop and tried to escape but was quickly restrained by other operatives. The organization's leader ordered Stapleton to force Carmichael to confess his ties to Hanna. He also demanded that everyone be eliminated except Marissa. Yes, sir. Terry, though kind at heart, risked her own safety to send a warning to Hanna. Hanna hijacked a taxi to rush back. Meanwhile, Marissa relocated Abbas, shielding him during a shootout so he could escape. Hanna arrived just in time to take out a few operatives from behind. Watching Abbas flee alone, she finally realized there could be no emotional ties to her targets. This only confirmed to the organization that Hanna had betrayed them. They launched a full-scale hunt to bring her in. But Hanna wasn't giving up. She still wanted to know who Abbas's ex really was, so she tailed him. She followed him all the way home and discovered the person in question was actually his biological daughter. Unfortunately, being monitored herself, Hanna had unknowingly led operatives straight to Abbas's home. With no other choice, they grabbed the girl and fled. As Abbas carried his daughter, a kind neighbor offered him shelter at his own home. Hanna led the group through a train yard. The kind neighbor stayed behind to delay the operatives and buy them time. She jumped off the train first, then helped the child down. Rather than flee, she hid underneath, waiting until the threat had passed. To comfort the frightened girl, Hanna handcrafted a toy for her. Then she guided them to the neighbor's home for safety. After ensuring Abbas and his daughter were secure, Hanna hit the road again to rescue the programmer Ethan. But just then, she got a call from Marissa. Sandy had already been sent to assassinate Ethan. Ethan called his wife, a piano teacher, and told her he'd meet her at the bus station in an hour. As she was about to leave, Sandy barged into the house under the pretense of asking for piano lessons, but once inside, her expression turned cold and serious. She stared at Ethan's wife, who instinctively shielded her phone, a move that instantly gave her away. Sandy demanded to know where Ethan was and threatened the pregnant woman with her unborn child. Under intense pressure, she revealed the location written inside a music book. Sandy opened the book and, sure enough, found Ethan's address. His wife tried to resist, but Sandy, having received elite training, quickly killed her. Her next target was Ethan. Hanna, out of options, texted Terry and begged for Sandy's location. Once she got the coordinates, she raced over as fast as she could, hoping she wasn't too late. Luckily, Sandy hadn't killed Ethan yet. She was torturing him, trying every method to force him to reveal how he leaked classified intel. Suddenly, Hanna ambushed Sandy. The two top trainees of the facility finally went head-to-head. After a fierce battle, Hanna, armed with real-world combat experience, gained the upper hand and pinned Sandy to the ground. She comforted Ethan afterward. Then came a terrifying truth. Everything we do online may be recorded and analyzed. The world's most exceptional young people were placed on a special surveillance list. Hanna and Marissa's mission was to copy this assassination list and destroy the system that powers it. When the programmer tried to press an alarm button, Hanna noticed and killed him. Marissa pulled the USB drive and handed it to Hanna, telling her to run with the list. Marissa, meanwhile, would infiltrate the facility's headquarters and take out the leader. Upstairs, Terry overheard that Carmichael was about to be eliminated. She secretly stole a master key card and disguised a fake resignation report, passing it to the guard to deliver. The guard didn't allow a private meeting, so he took the paper in himself. Carmichael noticed something odd at the bottom, quickly pulled out a small hidden blade, and created a distraction. In a flash, he silenced the guard and killed him. As he made his way downstairs, he ran into Marissa and told her the location of the leader's office. Marissa eliminated every obstacle in her path. When she got to the office, it was empty. She chased the target to the conference room, only to discover that the organization's leader was her own father. He had trained Marissa since she was a child, hoping she'd one day succeed him as head of the operation. Marissa, still holding on to her conscience, couldn't bring herself to kill him. Their entire conversation was overheard by Hanna outside. Just then, Stapleton and her team stormed in, igniting a brutal shootout. In the chaos, Hanna was shot. Marissa pulled her aside and tried to save her, but Hanna knew the situation was dire. She handed over the USB and said, "There's no way we both make it out. I'll cover you. Go." Before parting ways, Hanna warned, "I won't hold back on your father. I will kill him." Thanks to Hanna's cover, Marissa escaped. Unfortunately, Hanna, badly wounded, was surrounded and forced to surrender. But this seemingly fragile girl still had fight in her. With a single move, she injured the organization's leader. If not for two agents stepping in, he might have been killed. Humiliated, the leader ordered her restrained in a chair and pressed a lit cigarette against her hand. Hanna didn't beg. She stayed silent through the entire interrogation, leaving only a permanent scar on her hand. Later, a nurse brought her food, but Hanna ignored it. She quietly listened to the footsteps. When she counted to 9, she knew the nurse had entered the next room. She stared at the food tray, but all she saw were the knife and fork. In a flash, she kicked the tray to the floor. The noise drew a guard's attention. The leader himself approached. Hanna refused to eat. The man showed her surveillance footage to prove how powerful their monitoring network was. It turns out Marissa received a call from the former trainer who had betrayed them. He was hiding in an internet cafe and secretly told her that he had evidence against the organization and that he could help her eliminate Hanna. They agreed to meet in an hour. As the trainer boarded the train, he heard a familiar female voice. It was Sandy, the top student he had personally trained. Sandy greeted her former mentor, but he told her that their missions were different and that they couldn't be allies. Sandy revealed the pistol tucked in her waistband, not wanting to endanger innocent lives. The trainer quickly got off the train, but Sandy was right behind him. The trainer ran along the tracks and jumped onto another train, only to find Sandy already there, blocking his path. He had been caught red-handed by his own student. Furious, Sandy scolded him for ordering her to kill women and children. Then, she alerted the organization to come arrest him. Meanwhile, Marissa was still on her way to the meeting point, unaware of what had happened. The organization's leader told Marissa he simply wanted to raise and groom his daughter, but Hanna didn't accept that excuse. All she ever needed was your love. Spotting the trainer on the upper floor, Marissa signaled to him. When they met, she agreed to give him money. In return, he handed over a master key card for the base and opened his laptop. Marissa noticed a surveillance camera overhead and began to suspect something was off, but determined to take the organization down, she decided to take the risk. Once the laptop was booted up, she realized it was a trap. The organization's leader appeared on the screen, using Hanna to threaten her and warning that she was surrounded. Resistance was futile. Hanna reassured Marissa that she was still safe. Hearing this, Marissa immediately understood. Her father, the leader, wouldn't harm his own daughter, but the same couldn't be said for the traitorous trainer. The trainer tried to reason with Marissa, but amidst the chaos, Sandy shot him. Marissa took advantage of the distraction and fled to her car. Back at the base, Hanna sarcastically told the leader, "Your daughter's really going to obey you." Infuriated, he stormed off. Once he left, Hanna stared at the fork in her hand. When the nurse came in to administer a shot, she used it to take down the agent and then threw a knife at the nurse. Grabbing the agent's gun, she shot the reinforcements that came rushing in, then destroyed the surveillance camera. With the room clear, she removed a ceiling panel and climbed into the crawl space, crawling silently while remembering the nurse's footsteps. When she counted to 9, she peered through a vent and saw a patient in a nearby room, but then an alarm sounded, forcing her to make a run for it. She spotted a glass window ahead and charged at it, breaking through. Though the impact knocked her unconscious, Hanna was soon captured again by agents. The organization's leader had discovered the whereabouts of a boss, Hanna's boyfriend, and his daughter. He used them to blackmail Hanna into persuading Marissa to return. With no choice, Hanna complied. She called Marissa and arranged to meet at a cemetery. Stapleton attached a listening device to Hanna. Before leaving, a makeup artist touched up Hanna's appearance and placed a pen on the table. In the car, Stapleton warned Hanna to stick to the plan. Hanna nodded reluctantly and headed to the meeting spot alone. Snipers were already in place, watching Marissa's every move. When they met, Hanna apologized, explaining that the organization had used drones to track down a boss, leaving her no choice but to obey. The leader listened to their conversation remotely. Hanna openly admitted she was wired, and Marissa quickly realized they were being watched. Hanna urged Marissa to return and lead the organization, to change the policies set by her father, but Marissa believed her father was too stubborn to be changed. Hanna reached out her hand and whispered, "Come back with me." Marissa looked down and saw a message written on Hanna's palm. "Max is still alive." That was the moment she understood. Smiling, she agreed to return to the base with Hanna. but they were walking into an ambush. Stapleton ordered Hanna to enter first. Sensing something was wrong, Marissa prepared to trigger the trap herself. Inside, the strike team was ready to fire. Stapleton stopped Marissa just in time, but this only confirmed her suspicions. Both women launched their counterattack. When Hanna took out 2 agents and turned her attention to Stapleton, she saw Marissa being held hostage. Stapleton tried to retreat and ordered her team not to fire. As the door opened and she was about to slip inside, Marissa shoved her out of the way. Hanna seized the opportunity and opened fire, wiping out the enemy team inside. They disabled the cameras, enraging the organization's leader. He quickly realized that Hanna and Marissa had returned to the base for one reason: to find the dying programmer Max and retrieve the USB password. Sure enough, Hanna crawled through a vent and silently neutralized the guards. Marissa followed. They urged Max, barely hanging on, to write down the password. With trembling hands, Max finished the final letter. Hanna tore the paper away, and they escaped through the vent. When Stapleton arrived and found him gone, she angrily yanked out Max's oxygen tank and left him to die. Meanwhile, a boss and his daughter were hiding in a small village. A white dog barking outside piqued the little girl's curiosity and also drew agents to their location. One of them stepped on a wooden horse Hanna had given the girl while escaping. As Hanna's group fled, they unexpectedly ran into Terry, who pointed them to a safer route. But Hanna had other plans. She climbed to the rooftop. A helicopter was preparing to take off to capture a boss, the last person to board, a disguised Hanna. Terry was spotted by security cameras and had nowhere to hide. At that moment, a car screeched in to rescue her. A boss and his daughter fled into the forest, but spotting a helicopter overhead made him panic even more. When it landed, agents began their sweep. One agent noticed something odd. One of their own was actually Hanna in disguise, but by the time he realized it, it was too late. She ripped out his comms, forced him to his knees, and vanished. Exposed, Hanna ditched her disguise and used her knowledge of the terrain to search for a boss. At the same time, Sandy arrived dead set on killing Hanna. A boss snuck into a lumber truck to escape, but was spotted and forced to run. Hanna, seeing him being chased, quickly eliminated the agent and saved him. His daughter was hiding in a cave when someone appeared above her. She couldn't tell if it was friend or foe. Jules had also been deployed and joined the forest operation. The agents released attack dogs to track Hanna's team. One of them caught up to Hanna, but recognizing the queen of the wild, the dog backed off. A boss returned to the cave and found his daughter, but Sandy was there, gun drawn, ordering them to surrender. Before she could do anything, Hanna appeared and engaged Sandy in a second brutal fight. While they struggled, Jules arrived and aimed his gun at both of them, telling them to stop, but Sandy refused to back down, and Jules shot her. Hanna was stunned by Jules' choice. She looked down and saw Sandy's body floating away in the water. The gunfire attracted more agents. Jules tried to get a boss to safety, but they were surrounded. Hanna had no choice but to surrender and covered the little girl's eyes. The leader of the organization gave the kill order. At that moment, Marissa arrived, shot Stapleton, and pointed her gun at her father. Just as he raised his weapon, Marissa shot first. She grabbed a radio and ordered the agents to fall back. Only Hanna understood what had just happened. In his final moment, the leader reached for his daughter's hand, but Marissa didn't take it. As she walked past him, she collapsed. Hanna rushed over and found Marissa dying. In a faint voice, Marissa said, "It's done." Hanna held her hand tightly. "I used to hate you," Marissa whispered, "but now I love you." Then she closed her eyes forever. In that moment, Hanna realized Marissa, the woman who protected her all this time, had truly become the mother she never had. And that's the full story of all 3 seasons of Hanna. What did you think of the series? On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.